£2,000 is actually a fairly decent amount to buy yourself a convertible sports car. You've got your choice of a Mercedes SLK, BMW Z3, and of course the Mazda MX-5, the default choice. But then Paul told Jeff and I that we weren't allowed to buy an MX-5, which ruled out the most obvious choice. And then the other two options were ruled out by the fact that whatever we bought had to be Japanese, which gave us pretty much no options left. Apart from one two-seater convertible sports car you can very much buy for under £2,000 and in my opinion deserves a bit more recognition. This, the Mk3 Toyota MR2. Now, veteran Classics World viewers will recognise this very Mk3 MR2. Jeff's done a road test on it, and Paul and Phil have compared it with our Mk2 Mazda MX-5. So let's talk less about why the Mk3 MR2 is such a forgotten gem of a sports car, and why I chose this one to go up against Jeff's Honda Del Sol. For a start, the Mk3 MR2 represents one of the best bang for buck cars you can buy. You can reliably get these cars for under £1,000 and few cars that aren't a Mazda MX-5 are as much fun for the money. This one was originally going to be a project car for Retro Cars magazine, but that never really happened. Then it was going to compete against the MX-5 in a challenge for Fast Car magazine, and thanks to COVID that never really happened either. So finally I saw fit to dig this out from our offices in Kent to use it in this £2,000 Japanese roadster that's not an MX-5 challenge. Unfortunately, this Mk3 MR2 has suffered the same fate that many of these early pre-facelift cars do. The precats in the exhaust system have crumbled, been sucked back into the engine, scored the bores and rendered it game over for the 1.8 litre engine in there. £800 and a lot of man hours later, this car had a new engine, and once the clutch had been changed, this car was fighting fit once again. I picked it up from our Kent office's car park after it had been sat there for about 4 months since we did the video against the MX-5, expecting it to be a wreck. Quite apart from flat tyres and a flat battery, it was as good as gold. I got it booked straight in for an MOT, and being a Toyota, it passed with flying colours. But this being a project car, it's not perfect. So before we go any further with the MR2, let's have a look at everything that isn't so perfect. It's easy to criticise the interiors of this and most Japanese cars. It is a bit scratchy, it is a bit plasticky, it's certainly no Porsche Boxster. The thing is though, a roadster has a hard life. There's sun, there's bird poo, there's probably rain occasionally, and this one has stood the test of time really well. There's minimal marks, minimal scratches, everything still works, opens and closes. The gear knob is very threadbare. This is a 115,000 mile car. It's had more than a few enthusiastic gear changes over time, I'd imagine. That is probably going to need changing. Then there's the door cards. We believe they were yellow to match the car originally, but someone's had a go at DIY dyeing them by the look of it, and not very well. Thankfully, that is a fairly easy job to rectify. I can buy new ones and put those on, or I could even have a go myself at re-dyeing these ones. It's easy enough to do, and I'm quite looking forward to having a go at it. The seats in this car are really nice. These aren't standard Mk3 MR2 seats, they're Mk2 MR2 Turbo Japanese market ones. They're comfortable, they're supportive, and they're really, really nice. This one is a little bit threadbare on the bolster, and it's faded in places, but it might well be re-dyeable as well. Again, simple and cheap improvements. The only thing that really did need sorting on the MR2 for it to pass its MOT was the headlights. They were all clouded up like most plastic headlights are, so a quick bit of cutting compound and a buffer got them all shiny again. You might be able to notice though that they do leak a little bit, particularly in the cold weather we've got at the moment. These do fog up really easily, particularly the driver's side one. It's a fairly easy job to sort. It should just be taken them apart and reseal them, but second-hand ones aren't that expensive. If they can't be repaired, we can just buy new ones.
Other things worth noting are the wheels, which are a bit scruffy and could probably do with a refurb. The hood is very much past its best, but second-hand replacements are proving elusive, so do get in touch if you've got one. And the driver's mirror, which does this.
Okay, so it's got a few tatty bits, it's a little bit rough around the edges, but don't forget, this is a 22-year-old car, and a 22-year-old car which, unlike a lot of our project cars, isn't being worked on. It hasn't got a custodian, it's not had anyone giving it any love. Until I came along. Because the thing is, Under the naff door cards and the knackered gear knob and the slightly threadbare seats that aren't actually for this car, this MR2 is a really good example. It's completely rust-free despite the fact it's not undersealed from the factory for the Japanese market, so I've done that for it. I gave it a full coat of Schutz underseal to make sure it's protected long term. The Asbo exhaust is a bit noisy, but it sounds really good. And it drives so well. It's tight, it's sharp, steering's light and direct, and that mid-engine balance is awesome. Way better than you're going to get in the front-engine, front-wheel drive Del Sol that Jeff's bought. And talking of the Del Sol, this is a proper convertible. I haven't got some T-top that I've got to lift off, store in the boot, and then probably is going to leak every time it rains. I've just got the full open-air experience, and I get it in 10 seconds. 2 clips, pop it back, fold it down, latch it in, job's a good one. This is a really good example of an unfairly neglected sports car, and it's a really good base to turn into something really respectable. Yeah, I think the MR2 and I are going to get on very well indeed.